My older brother ran away the day before his wedding, abandoning not just his bride-to-be but also the newborn daughter she had just given birth to a month prior. Afraid of offending the Roger family, one of the most powerful in Riverford, our parents panicked. They begged me to take my brother's place and go through with the wedding in his stead. So, I did. From that day forward, I took on a role that was never meant to be mine. I became a stand-in husband and a reluctant father. But I didn't do it halfway. I cared for Sarah, my brother's bride, as if she were my own wife. I raised Elise, their child, like she was mine. Whether it was bottle feedings at 3 a.m. or rushing home from work when she had a fever, I was there. I handled everything big and small, mundane or urgent with silent dedication. 10 years passed like that, and in those 10 years, people praised me. They said I was the perfect husband, the ideal father. No one remembered that I was a substitute. Maybe even I had started to forget. Then, 3 days before Elisa's 10th birthday, everything unraveled. I had come home early from work. As I passed by the study, I saw Sarah crouched beside Elise, her hand gently resting on the child's head. A motherly gesture, warm, tender, but her expression told another story. Her eyes were sharp with loathing. "You're old enough now," she whispered. "Stay away from your uncle from now on. If it weren't for him, your father would have never run away. He would have been here. He would have stayed." My breath caught in my throat. She wasn't done. "Don't worry, I've already found your father. Soon, the three of us will be together again." Elise slowly raised her head. Her eyes, once so trusting, locked on her mother's with confusion and then comprehension. She looked like something inside her had just snapped into place. "So Dad didn't want me because of Uncle Oliver." That was when they noticed me standing at the doorway. Elisa's face twisted in fury. She ran at me with no warning and shoved me hard. My body slammed into the stair railing and I stumbled, falling awkwardly down the last few steps. Pain shot through my ankle. From the top of the stairs, she glared down at me, her small frame trembling. "I hate you. This is all your fault." By nightfall, I had a sprained ankle, a bruised shoulder and a heart that felt like it had been crushed. I limped to the phone, dialed an international number I hadn't touched in a decade. "Professor Murray," I said, my voice low, "I'm ready to join the research project." It was a call I should have made 10 years ago. The moment I ended the call, Sarah walked in. Elise followed, arms crossed, gaze sharp with the kind of disdain only a child scorned could carry. "So you heard everything," Sarah said. Her tone was casual now, like a burden had finally been lifted. "Then I won't bother pretending anymore. Francis is coming back soon. You'd better behave. Don't stir up trouble, or there really won't be a place for you in this house." Elise stepped forward, her eyes cold and unforgiving. "If you hadn't raised me all these years," she said with a sneer, "I would have told Mom to kick you out a long time ago." Her words didn't stop there. "You think you're special. If you weren't my dad's brother, do you really think you would have had a chance with my mom?" I stared at the two of them, one tall, one small. They looked so alike in that moment, united in contempt. 10 years ago, I had stood in front of this same woman, vowing to take care of her and the child she bore. 10 years ago, I had held a squalling infant in my arms, promising to raise her as my own. I had given everything, every opportunity, every ambition. I missed my chance at the top research institute overseas. I gave up my career, my future, my life because my brother ran. He ran and I stayed. Now, the baby who once cried in my arms stood before me, strong enough to hate me to my face. And the woman I had protected all these years could barely hide her revulsion. 10 whole years had passed in the blink of an eye, and in a single moment, it was as if they had never happened. My throat tightened. I blinked quickly, pushing back the sting rising behind my eyes. My voice came out rough, like it had been scraped raw. "Sarah," I said softly, "let's get a divorce." She froze. For a second, I thought she hadn't heard me. Then her face contorted like someone had slapped her. Before she could speak, Elise cut in sharply. "Uncle Oliver, is it really that hard for you to accept my dad?" she snapped. "He's not even back yet and you're already threatening to divorce my mom." She wasn't finished. "Let me tell you something, no matter what you do, you'll never be half the man my dad is. Everything you've done these past 10 years, it just makes you more pathetic." Her words were sharper than her mother's. Sarah's betrayal stung, but Elisa's rejection carved straight through bone. I had raised her. I had fed her, taught her, stayed up all night when she had nightmares. And now, before Francis even set foot back in this house, I had already become nothing. My vision blurred again and I could barely steady my breath. My voice, hoarse and quiet, came out once more. "Sarah, let's get a divorce." Before the mother and daughter in front of me could respond, a piercing voice snapped from behind. "Oliver, what the hell is wrong with you?" I turned. My parents were here. Elise immediately launched herself into my mother's arms, tears streaming down her cheeks, her voice trembling with practiced outrage. "Grandma, you're finally here. This man stole my dad's place for 10 years. And now, before my real dad even comes back, he wants to divorce my mom. You were right, he's nothing but ungrateful." Her words tumbled out in a breathless rush, as if she'd rehearsed them. Meanwhile, Sarah didn't miss a beat. She gathered the sobbing Elise in her arms, her expression stone cold. Without looking back, she delivered a final parting shot. "Keep your son in check. Don't let him cause any more trouble for me." With that, she walked off, taking Elise with her. A second later, a loud slap landed across my cheek. The sting was sharp, immediate. My head tilted slightly from the force, but I didn't move otherwise. My mother's voice rose, shaking with fury. "What more do you want? You're the Rogers' son-in-law. It's been 10 years. Any resentment you had should have burned out long ago." She jabbed a finger toward me. "You think we don't know you blame us? That you resent having to take your brother's place in that wedding? But what do you think would have happened if you hadn't? Do you think you'd be living the life you are now? If I were you, I'd be kneeling before Sarah, begging her not to kick me out." My father stepped forward and pulled her back with a hand on her shoulder. He was calmer, but no less disappointed. "Enough. He's not a child. Say your piece, but don't raise your hand again." Then he turned to me, his gaze heavy with judgment. "You don't seem to understand the kind of family the Rogers are. Cole Group would have never grown to where it is without their help. And you, what have you accomplished? You've been married for 10 years and still haven't had a single child with Sarah." My mother folded her arms and scoffed. "Exactly. All you do is sulk and throw tantrums. Listen Listen to me, Oliver, when it comes to Sarah, you have no right to ask for a divorce. Not now, not ever. With that, they both walked away, leaving me alone in the center of the room. I stood in silence, my cheeks still tingling. My bare foot throbbed from the sprain, the ankle red and swollen. The scent of medicinal spray still lingered in the air, pungent, bitter, clinging to the back of my throat. And yet, from the moment my parents arrived until the moment they left, neither of them asked about it. Not a single glance. All they cared about was Sarah, the marriage, the Rogers, their own reputation. This scene, this ugly, suffocating farce had played out before, and every time, it left the same dull ache pressing behind my eyes. The next morning, the swelling had subsided only slightly. It still hurt to walk, but I forced myself out the door anyway. Albert Murray's project was on a tight schedule and I expected to hit the ground running as soon as I joined. With paperwork still to submit and time running short before I needed to leave the country, I pushed through the pain. When I returned that afternoon, the house was quiet but the air inside was tense. Sarah sat on the sofa, arms crossed, lips tight. Elise was next to her, angrily swiping at her tablet. As soon as she saw me walk in, she shot up and shouted, her tone filled with undisguised contempt. It's already getting dark. Where the hell have you been? Why didn't you pick me up from school today? And why haven't you made dinner yet? What are Mom and I supposed to eat? Now that Francis was returning, Elise didn't even bother to keep up any act. All the hostility and disgust she had were spilled out like poison. Sarah didn't stop her. Instead, she turned toward me, her eyes brimming with disdain. All she did was give you a little push and you're still mad about it. What kind of father holds a grudge against a 10-year-old? She exhaled through her nose, clearly exasperated. Enough. Go make dinner. Elise is hungry. I looked at them both, standing there like they owned everything in this house, including me. A mother and daughter who had once clung to me as if I were their last hope. Now they acted like I was an unwanted guest. Strangely, I felt nothing, not even anger. If anything, I almost laughed. Isn't there a housekeeper? I asked, my tone even. Let her cook. I'm a little tired. I want to rest. I didn't spare them another glance and limped toward the stairs. But just as I reached the top, I paused. Oh, and one more thing, I said without turning around. Didn't you both say it yourselves last night? I'm not Elise's father, so there's no point in discussing what kind of father I'm supposed to be. I stepped into the bedroom and shut the door behind me, but the silence barely lasted a second. Elise burst in, her voice shrill with fury. Do you really think throwing a tantrum will scare us? That Mom and I will suddenly stop Dad from coming back because of you? She stormed to the wardrobe and began yanking out my clothes, throwing them to the floor with wild abandon. You're dreaming, she shouted, her face flushed with rage, eyes brimming with tears of anger rather than sorrow. She didn't stop there. After scattering my clothes, she dashed into the bathroom and returned holding an eyebrow razor. Without hesitation, she slashed at my shirts blade after blade, muttering curses between clenched teeth. You think just because you raised me, I owe you something? You eat our food, wear our clothes and still dare show attitude. She raised her voice further, the words seething through gritted teeth. You think you're so great, right? Then don't wear what Mom bought you. Don't eat the food from this house. Just get out. Get out. Her little body trembled from the force of her rage, her hands cutting wildly as if trying to erase every trace of me. I stood still, watching her without saying a word. My fingers curled slightly at my sides, but I made no move to stop her. Gradually, her furious face began to blur in my vision, overlapping with the soft, helpless face of a baby from 10 years ago. The first time I walked into this house, she had been wailing in the nanny's arms. I rushed over instinctively and scooped her up. She had gone quiet the moment she touched my chest. Her tiny head leaned into me like I was her whole world. Sarah had stood beside me that day, letting out a quiet sigh. You're Francis' brother and Elise is your niece by blood. Looks like she really trusts you. That moment had melted something in me. From then on, I became her father for 10 whole years. When she had a fever, I sat by her bed all night, clutching her hand and adjusting the cold compress every hour. When she was picky with food, I cooked meals shaped like flowers and stars, coaxing her to eat just a little more. When she cried after a fight at school, I held her hand and walked to her classmate's house, standing up for her like a real father would. And each time, I told her, Dad will always be on your side. But in the end, all those memories led here to this moment, where she stood screaming that I'd stolen her father's place, destroying my clothes with a blade in her hand. Just then, Sarah entered the room. Without sparing me a glance, she scooped Elise into her arms, pressing a palm to her back to calm her down. She looked at me then, her voice bitter. So all these years you were just pretending, weren't you? Elise didn't wait for her to finish. She raised the eyebrow razor one last time and hurled it straight at me. It hit my chest and clattered to the floor. It didn't hurt, but the look in her eyes, that raw hatred cut far deeper than any blade. If